Okay.
Play the music. Here we are. One thing. There we go. Just killed a fan there. And that's not going to work. Okay. We are just testing tonight, people. I cannot promise you will go away with anything meaningful or useful, but if you haven't got anything better to do, I'd love to have you here and hang out with us. We are testing our big rig tonight. This is our ATEM 2 ME production 4K switcher. I think that's what it's called. And then we have a whole bunch of other things we've got hooked up to that. So we will go through a little diagram here in a little bit just to see how that's all working. And how's everything looking out there? So this should be coming through in 4K if you're using a browser that supports 4K playback from YouTube. If you're on Catalina or earlier on the on Mac OS and you're using Safari, it'll only be HD. But if you're on Chrome, or if you're on Chrome, for sure you should be able to play 4K. 30p is what we're streaming at here today. So Hal has a question, a very important question. Oh, wait, by the way, I was surprised that you were able to get... Oh, well, here's Hal's question. Should I do my taxes or watch you? How about both? We'll help you out with your taxes if you need help. Or if not, just work on your taxes and we'll provide hopefully a little bit of comic relief as well. All right. Oh No Coffee says, I was surprised you were able to get away from Alan's epic live stream. It only took me 4 hours. It was a good time. It was interesting. I got to meet some new people. And all right, so that's that. All right, Daniel says he is using Chrome and seeing 4K 30p. Excellent. And yeah, Lloyd, it is indeed a mouthful, that entire thing. Okay. So what I want to do here is we're going to run through a few things. So let's just run through all our inputs, Emma. So first of all, yeah, go ahead and run through. So here is our main cam. Next up, we are going to cut to the Mac. This is the Mac that I'll be using for demos. And in fact, let me just pull up Audition here. And one of the things we're going to do on the live stream tomorrow is we're going to demo a plugin called Smooth 2. So I just need to make sure that we're able to get some audio going here. So let's come out here. Matching Boom and Love, raw audio, COS 11D original. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to just play this back here and just need your confirmation that audio is coming through.
Well, I started in GarageBand Mobile, so...
Okay, audio seems to be coming through there. Good, let's switch to our next input. This is our, actually there's something I didn't show you yet, Emma. There's something called a super source. Yeah. And so right now, everyone in the stream is seeing our agenda for tomorrow. This is actually just the start of it. We don't have all of it in there yet. But I'm just going to describe something here to Emma. I'll be right back. Down here, there's something called super source. If you click on that, go in on the right-hand side and collapse the key, and there should be super source up there. Open that up, and then for the art, choose black. Should be up at the top. Okay, there we go. Go ahead and take that live. Okay, here's our super source. So you can see we can do things that are a little bit different than what you can do with the ATEM Mini. This is one of the neato features of the ATEM 2 ME. And obviously, once we do the demo, we'll switch over to input number 2 and show you the whole screen, full screen. Just like that. Okay, cool. So that's how the super source works. Okay. Emma's got that. All right, let's go to, then let's put up a chat on the screen. Something from the chat here. Emma's going to find her favorite comment so far from the chat and see what it says here. My bandwidth doesn't allow such beauty. It's coming through at 480p here. Oh no. I'm sorry, Oh No Coffee. Daniel seems to be getting it there, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm curious to hear what other people are, whether or not you are able to play back in 4K or not. That will be interesting to know. Okay, so all our inputs appear to be working. Let's go ahead and switch back to the main cam, I guess. All right, main cam it is. What else do we need to check? Music played okay, I think, at the start. That was coming through all right. Okay. We are using the SQ5. And let me just cue up here a little something so that I feel like my voice is whistling. I'm going to pull up H2R gear here, and we're going to take a look at our setup. Let's edit the plan here. Pull that. If you want to put that on the screen for us, Emma. Okay, so what we have here is H2R gear, which is showing our setup. And honestly, whoa, why is it? It's not liking all that. Okay, here we go. Over here on the right-hand side, we have our SQ5. Tonight we actually just have a single microphone connected. It's actually not going through the Shelford channel, excuse me. We're going directly into the SQ5. That's coming out line level into the XLR inputs on the ATEM 2 over here, and we have applied a 133 millisecond, not 133 second, 133 millisecond. If you want to switch back over to the main cam here, let's just check our sync really quickly. I'm going to do a clap here, and if you guys can tell us whether or not everything looks like it's in sync. And then here's me talking just to see. We measured it out before and it was coming out to 133 milliseconds, so hopefully that's still the case. and everything looks in sync. That was for the main camera. That's how much latency we were seeing out of the HDMI output on the Canon C200. So speaking of the Canon C200, that's represented, let's go ahead and put the diagram back up on screen here. That's represented over here on the left-hand side. It goes through one of the 12G crosses so that it's converted to SDI, and then we have a relatively long cable run. And in fact, if we go, no, that's fine. I'll just describe it. So we actually have a new case for the ATEM, a rack case that's on wheels, and it is outside the door of this room. So we have moved that production gear outside of this room, which is nice because then we don't get as much of the fan noise. So we did need to be able to run relatively long cables in SDI. You can run much longer SDI cables than you can run HDMI cables unless you use some sort of HDMI reamplifier kind of thing. And we already have enough devices. We did not want to add additional. So the other nice thing about the 12G cross is that you can, the ATEM2ME, you have to send everything at the same resolution and frame rate. And so this helps convert some of those, especially like the Mac Pro and the MacBook Pro and the iPad. So those come out at all different frame rates and all different resolutions. And so the cross converters get them up to 4K or UHD in this case, and technically 29.97. So that's what we're doing there. We do not have the Lumix set up for today. We don't need that for today's or this week's live stream. We do have the Mac Pro. That's what I'm showing you right now. The MacBook Pro is showing the chat. So when Emma puts one of the chat items up on screen, like something like this. Okay. And thank you, Lloyd, for the confirmation there. The sync is looking pretty good there, it looks like. And then, of course, we can switch over to the iPad as well. You're liking the title? That's good. That's good. Hey, what are all you people doing here? I told you not to watch this. So coming up next here, then Emma has the slides for the live stream for tomorrow. So here, for example, we're going to show Rob's zany live stream signal flow and get some feedback from the audience. We'll come back to that tomorrow. Don't want to spoil it all right now. And then coming back to the diagram on screen here.
Oh, wrong.
Wrong. Well, that's why you have a preview. Isn't that nice to have a preview? So Emma's getting used to a more traditional switcher where you do have a full preview program kind of setup. And you can do that, of course, on the ATEM Mini, but it's a lot easier with the kind of the traditional switcher control surface. We have one of those on order, but it looks like it's backlogged, and I don't know when we're going to get that. So in any case, what else do we have on the diagram over here? Let me just pull up over here. We do have the Tascam encoder. That's what we're going through right now. So the program output from the Production Studio 4K comes out actually HDMI and comes into the VSR 265, which is our encoder, which is also a recorder, incidentally. Interestingly, that has 2 Euroblock audio inputs. Euroblock was something that was somewhat new to me, but it's a way to send a balanced audio. And instead of using an XLR cable, it uses these Euroblock connectors, which are smaller and take up less room inside the device, so they can make smaller devices and still get balanced audio inside of them. So, and then of course we have Ethernet going over to our Ethernet switch, and then thanks to some help from Lloyd, we were able to get a new router set up here. So we're using a Ubiquity Networks Dream Machine Pro, I think it's called. But that's been working really nicely. So we're back up on the horse, and things are running nicely here to YouTube. So
We need to add this.
We need to add some other things. So this is actually, yes, we do need to add that. So we need another MacBook. So we're going to add some gear. And this will be a MacBook. Let's just see what we've got here. You have 2 USB-C outputs, right?
Yes.
Here they have them listed as USB 16-inch MacBook Pro. Well, I think this one's, well, let's use that one, I guess. So we will add this one. This is the one that Emma is using for It's actually connected via Ethernet, so you see, we're not going to be able to hook this up. Oops, you cannot connect Thunderbolt to Ethernet. So we'd need a dongle that goes between them. But anyway, this will represent that for now. And actually, you're not connected via Ethernet. You're connected via Wi-Fi, correct? Mm-hmm. So the control laptop is actually is connected via Wi-Fi. So we're okay there. There are some other things here too that are going to be important. I think we have our monitor outs, and those are coming to something called a Little Labs monitor. Let's go ahead and put that on here. So I'm going to add gear. I'm going to build our own, and we're going to call this the monitor. The manufacturer is Little Labs. It is audio gear. Inputs, it has this is just going to be left, and that will be XLR. And then it also has a right input. These are line level inputs, incidentally. Balanced line level. And then as far as outputs, it has out one, we can leave it at that. It's just jack. This is these are just headphone outputs. So it's basically a headphone amplifier, and it does a beautiful job. Oh, we can make this available for everybody. I don't know that anyone else is using something like this, but, you know, just to be a good team player, we'll come back in here, come back in to edit the plan, and we'll put our monitor over here, add gear. Is that how you spell it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a monotor. Okay. Color, we might need to modify the color. What should audio gear's color be?
What's the rest of it?
Well, let's see. Let's cancel. Audio gear is this light green, so that's going to be this color here.
Honeydew. They should just make it easy.
Honeydew. Okay, we'll do honeydew. Fair enough. Okay, that'll do. Done. All right. We have, let's see, channel 1 to here, channel 2 to here. Put that right there. Okay. What else is not represented here? We have, oh yeah, we have that monitor, your multi-view monitor. So we need to add monitor. Let's just call that a field monitor. That's good. I like field monitor. And so we will come out MV1. Oh, they're calling it HDMI. Technically, it's SDI. So we would actually not want to do that. So I'm going to double click on this, and we're going to remove it. I needed to be a little more careful there. We need a monitor with SDI inputs. These are XLR, jack, XLR. That's HDMI, HDMI. This is, oh, here's one with an SDI input. That one actually, the one we're actually using does not have an HDMI input. I mean, we could be really picky here. We could just do this. This is perfect right here. Add. Hey, and it even looks like a monitor. Did you notice that? That's cool.
I can't really see it, but sure.
Oh yeah, it's a little small on your monitor. Oops, you can't connect. Well, wait a minute. Why is this HDMI? That shouldn't be HDMI. So these are the kind of the growing pains that come along with a new app here. We need the ability to adjust those. So I'm going to have to work on that, but for now I'll just leave that. Let's go ahead and save this. I think that represents everything that's in our signal chain. Does that look right to you, Emma? Is there anything else we're missing? Any other gear?
I don't think so.
Okay, we think we got it. All right, let's go ahead and switch back to our main cam here. How we doing out in the chat there? Everybody doing all right? Are you bored yet? So H2R Gear connects everyone to the same device database. Yes. And what happens is, in fact, if you go back to the H2R Gear, the way it works, Lloyd, is yes, there's a shared database, but there's also private databases. So if I wanted to add some gear here, you'll notice here there's this private. You can leave it private or you can share it. So you can go either way with that, which is kind of cool. And in fact, let's go back to the builder. No, how do we get out of this? I guess I come back in here, I go to add gear. I can't find what I'm looking for. Oh wait, no, that's stick with me, people. Apologies. I want to look up the SQ5 here. SQ5. So 2 people have things set up. Here's the user submitted one. I would like to, oh no, it's not SQ5 I need. It's the output's the ATEM2 that I need. Apologies. ATEM2 ME. Okay. So on this one, it's calling those the multi-view outputs. I mean, there are HDMI outputs, but there are also SDI outputs. And so what's interesting, this one is the one that has the multi-views. So I think what I'm going to do is you can switch. So this is curious. Watch this. You can switch this. So I can double click on this. I can replace the item, do a search for ATEM2. I can choose, this is the one with the SDI, right? Yes, this is the one. So I want to replace this one. So you can see what it did is it put this in place. So I want to then remove this one. But we have some challenges here. It didn't move everything over. So we're going to have to manually do some of that. So let's go ahead and get rid of this one. So remove item. And then we'll just have to reconnect everything. But yes, to your point, oh, interesting. This is interesting too, because there is an HDMI input for one or SDI. So they've represented that here. That's good. Multi-view, we can now connect that to our SDI monitor. We can change our XLRs. And what's interesting here too, whoops. What I can do is I can get rid of these cables. If I hold down, it's on a Mac, I'm holding down Option. When I do channel 1 and I drop that, it gives me the opportunity to actually put a label here. So this is going to be, I don't know that we need a label actually. I just need to know how long the cable needs to be. In this case, it doesn't need to be terribly long. So I'm going to just say, I guess, what's a 25-foot cable? Is that about 4 or 5 meters? That's 5 meters. That's right in there. So we'll go ahead and click done.
25-foot cable?
Yeah.
5 meters.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh.
I was being questioned by my technical director here on my math.
Well, you're talking to somebody who is vexed that we do not use metric.
I know. We don't use meters, metric, and we don't know why. Yeah. Okay, that'll be 5 meters as well. So the reason that that's important is that when you go to create your pack list, it will tell you what you need. Oh, it doesn't show it here yet, so it's still in progress, but presumably at some point when you get to your pack list here, it will tell you how long the cables need to be as well. So that's pretty cool. Or it will be. This app is fantastic. I mean, we didn't have anything else like it up until now, so it's really awesome that John has put this together. Let's go ahead and get we have a program. I need my program outputs. We're using ME1, and it's SDI. Where's Where's the HDMI? Now they don't have an HDMI. Oh, wait, here we go. ME1 program output HDMI. That's how we're actually connecting. That's cool. Okay. All good there. What is not connected here is from the SQ5. We need the out 1 and 2 into the... And this is where we do actually probably need to put the cable lengths. Where are the XLR inputs here? There they are, channel 1 left and right. So what I need to do is hold down the Option key while I do that. Okay, that one also I'm going to probably want about 5 meters as well. Out 2 to channel right. Whoops, I forgot to hold the Option key. There we are. Okay, cool. Yay, that's looking good. All right. I think that represents our setup. So we're going to save that. And we're good there. Let's switch back to our main cam. Let's see into this. It's not just for the live streams, although that's one thing we invested in this for. But another big part of it is that we're this will actually be used to record some of our future courses. So we can do the recording at multiple levels. We do have a hyperdeck connected to the 2ME as well. And then you can record also at the encoder if we wanted to do that. So we have a couple of different options there. Probably we'll use with the hyperdeck, we can record to ProRes and to a higher quality codec. So we'll probably end up doing that. But that's a big part of why we're doing this. So... You should definitely test the SV33 flagship Earthworks if you get a chance. Super curious on your thoughts, given your propensity for the SR314. Yes. Hey, Emma, do you have like $2,500 I could borrow?
No. I'm in college.
She's in college. Yeah, no, she's here to earn money and to learn how to do cool stuff. So she doesn't. Yes, I would actually really love to. I developed a little bit of a relationship with Earthworks. They've been very kind, and they've sent over a couple of different mics so far. I don't know if they'd let us borrow or give us an SV33. I don't really have the budget to buy one now after we bought all this live stream gear. But love to try it. Yeah, and the tests I've heard of it so far, it sounds absolutely dreamy. It's a great mic. Another mic I'm actually interested in, if we're talking mics, is the Sphere L22. Who makes that? Townsend Labs, the modeling mic, just out of curiosity. For those that are not familiar with it, it is a microphone that has 2 diaphragms, large diaphragms, and it models a variety of very enviable vintage microphones. So if you want a U87 sound, it can model that, along with a whole bunch of other microphones as well, of course. So someday, Mark. 5 meters is approximately 16 feet. Thank you, Daniel. So we're going to need to revise those at some point. Happy Sunday in Portugal, 3 a.m. And watch as working at the oldest radio station from my country. Wow. Luis, thanks for joining us, and good job covering the night shift there, or the morning shift, I guess I should say. Very early morning shift. Good work. Does this inventory your cables so you'll know when you no longer have the cable or length of cable? No. What you do is you create a plan, and it tells you what cables you need, and that's basically the extent of it. So presumably at some point, as you know, again, this is just in beta right now, and I hope John's okay with me showing this, but it's not feature complete yet, so there's still some other things that need to be added. I think one of them, of course, would be in the packing list showing the length of cable that you need as well. So it doesn't hold your inventory, although that's a great idea. And maybe, wow, that would be an interesting feature set. It requires some substantial changes, but or additions, but it's a good idea. Thanks for that, Ono Coffee. This is more useful than just seeing the signal chain completed. Oh, thanks, Mike. Is that Mike? Which Mike is that?
H.
Mike H. Thanks, Mike H. This will be interesting with some of the higher I/O count devices, especially challenging maybe Dante. Yes, agreed. Yeah. See, yeah, it's really just mapping out the physical signal chain as opposed to the, with Dante, for example, then things get much more. Well, I mean, that's the beauty of Dante, of course, right? Is that you don't need so many cables to send the audio, multiple channels of audio everywhere. But you're right, Lloyd, that's an interesting point. So I think really the idea behind the initial release of this is really very much focused on physical signal chain, as opposed to, and I do think there's very much a use case, as you kind of suggested here, for understanding the more what's the right term? The practical signal chain, or like the, I don't know, there's a lot more. When you get Dante and you can, send a whole host of channels over a single Ethernet cable, understanding what's being routed where, interesting. Yeah, there's a lot more to consider there. Wait, did I miss something? Did Curtis set his clocks to Perth time? No. No, sorry, Bioluminous. We are just doing a check here tonight. We're just getting ready for tomorrow's live stream here. So this is not nothing official, just people hanging out, having fun. All right. What do you recommend, Motu M4 or Evo 8? I haven't used the Motus, but they've reviewed very well. My friend Bandrew reviewed the M4, I believe, or the M2. But I would probably opt for that's a tough call. I would say the M4. That would be my kind of just intuitive guess on those two. The Evo's decent. Emma uses the Evo 4, right? Any complaints about the Evo 4?
No, but I'm not recording with it, so I can't offer like a full explanation.
Okay, she's just using it to drive her monitors, so she's not actually using it as an input device, really. But yeah, I'd go for the Motu probably. I was this close to buying one this week to do a review.
There are a lot of funny things where you say where I'm thinking about buying this to do a review, and then 2 weeks later it shows up.
I haven't ordered it, so it's not going to happen. I'm trying to review a host of different price points, because not everyone can afford the expensive stuff. So, and you can make some pretty good audio with inexpensive gear. No, tonight we're actually using the Earthworks SR 314. The SM7B is right over here. It's tough. This one, I have a sibilance problem with my voice. This one can emphasize that a little bit. We've done some EQ on in fact, we could show that. Give me just a moment. Don't switch yet. Let's go to the SQ mix pad. Connection lost. We'll reconnect. Okay, if you want to switch over to the iPad for us, Emma. All right, if we come over here to this channel and we have our EQ, you can see we've applied this curve right here. So this one, how do I adjust it? Okay, she sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells by the seashore. So this one it's just an EQ to address a little bit of that sibilance. It's a little fiddly on the iPad here, to be honest. But you just need to do it at a high level. Let me just put my headphones on for a second. She sells seashells. She sells seashells. She sells, is that in? It is. She sells seashells. Are you hearing a difference?
Hardly.
Hardly. Same here. We might need to do a little sweep. She sells seashells. How about now? Yeah, interesting. She sells seashells. Okay, well, that's the idea there. And that's a long-winded way of saying we're using an SR314 tonight from Earthworks. Earthworks makes some really nice microphones that I've been really happy with. All right. What else have we got here? How fast is your upstream? 200 megabits is what we have through our internet service provider via fiber. We're uploading at 30 megabits, so the stream setting is set. In fact, we can change if you want to come over here to the Mac E. We have our encoder set to 30 megabits for this upstream. So that's what we're doing right now. Good question. And I think 30 megabits for talking head and, screen demos that aren't like high action are going to be just fine. All right, let's switch back to our main cam here. There we go. Best external fader for the MixPre 10.2. Ooh, if anyone in the chat has an opinion on that, by all means share it. The only one that we've used is the Novation, what's it called?
Launch Control XL.
Launch Control XL. It's okay. Is it perfect? No, but it's not bad. If you're mainly looking for linear faders, that's going to provide it to you in just a bigger space to work with. But not all of the buttons mapped last time I used it. It's now in Emma. Emma has co-opted it and used the free Ableton Lite license from it.
Yeah.
So it's up in her room now. So I haven't used it recently, but it's pretty good. It depends on what problems you're trying to solve. But again, if you're mainly looking for, a gain potentiometer plus a linear fader, it'll do that for sure. I found that the menu navigation wasn't quite as, it was okay. Wasn't amazing. But other than that, it worked pretty well. I like the device seems pretty decent. So good question.
I'm not surprised it didn't map properly because it's built to be
it's for it's for Ableton Live. Yeah, it's not. But the reason I think sound devices didn't want to get into the business of making one necessarily for the MixPre line at least, and so they just went out and found a few on the market that are reasonably popular, reasonably priced, decent quality, and essentially enabled their MixPres to work with them. So. Blew my mind when I found out Motu stands for Mark of the Unicorn. Indeed. Did you know that?
I didn't.
No, Emma didn't know that. She learned something tonight, so it's been a success. You're above the sibilant frequency, I'm pretty sure. Try 4 to 5K. Okay, so let's go back to the SQ app. Refresh. Why did it lose my connection here? Oh, there it is. Okay, come back into this channel. This channel. It's a little fiddly on iPad, to be honest. Come back to the EQ. You think Lloyd says this is a little too high in frequency, so come back down to 4 and 5K. Somewhere in this range here. She sells seashells. Let me put my headphones on. She sells seashells. She sells seashells. She sells seashells. What do you guys think? Emma, what's your feedback? She sells seashells.
Try a boost.
She sells seashells. She sells seashells.
5K.
5K?
Yeah.
She sells seashells. She sells seashells. Oh, that, yeah.
It takes off the sparkle.
Takes off the, or the harsh edge, however you want to call it. I wouldn't call it sparkle in my voice. All right, that'll do for that, I think. Thank you, Lloyd. Appreciate that. That is a good point. I think one thing, you have to kind of reset your ears sometimes, so boosting was a good idea. Thank you for that.
Uh-huh.
Our resident producer here gave us some good advice.
Ken Goodwin's not here right now, but he asked way back in May or June how my Logic and Live training was going, and we didn't answer.
Okay, so
he's not going to show up to
Ken's not going to show up to hear. He's not going to show up to the live stream that's entitled "Do Not Watch."
The answer is it is good. Thank you. Somebody can tell him in the chat tomorrow.
Okay, we'll tell Ken tomorrow that you're going well. And of those two digital audio workstations, which have you landed on?
Well, I got the free trial, the 3-month for both of them, and I ran out of Logic first.
Okay.
So now I'm in Live.
Okay.
And I just finished my 90-day trial of the full version, so now I'm on Lite, which is 8 tracks only. But I like Ableton. I like how they roll. I thought I wouldn't like it, and then I tried it, and then I did.
And you liked it? Okay.
So for production purposes, And like writing beats, I like Live. For processing trumpet recordings, I like Logic.
Interesting. Okay, so if you're going to actually make a recording and work without recording, you prefer Logic, but if you're doing beats, Ableton's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
I might change my mind when I start working with vocals, but I don't know.
Well, that actually just makes sense. I mean, Ableton Live is really made for exactly what you're using it for.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What else have we got in the chat? Anything good? Holy cannoli, it's Curtis Judd. Quick question. Looking for a new audio interface, Tascam 208i or one with 32-bit maybe? Oh, Luis, good question. I haven't used the Tascam 208s. I saw them. They're another one that I had my eye on. Again, I think it'd be a worthwhile review to take a look at those. Tascam is such an interesting company. And they came from, what was the name of the company? There's a parent company. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Back in the day, they were renowned in the pro audio world. What was it called? Someone in the chat will probably remember. Oh, don't remember what they were called. But now they're making video encoders. But I found out actually this video encoder, the VS R265, which actually I think is working pretty well. I found out they actually contracted a company called Videon to make this for them, but they switched it up. The equivalent Videon product does everything this does, but it does not have the Euroblock audio inputs. And Tascam specified in their copy, their version of it, that they contracted for Videon to produce for them to put the Euroblock balanced audio inputs. So, of course, TIAC. TIAC is the name of the company. And I don't know if that's the parent company or there's some relationship there of some sort, but in any case. So Tascam has this other company, but they specified that they wanted the Euroblock audio inputs. That's cool. And then they make a lot of kind of more affordable audio gear now, but they also have their recording, like their mini recording mixers now too, which look interesting. I haven't used them, but they look pretty interesting as well. So I don't know on the 208. I hope to test it at some point. I don't know how important 32-bit float. I don't know if you're talking about 32-bit float or what there. I think with interfaces, I mean, I guess the F6 does that, and I guess does it? Actually, the Mix Pre does it. I don't know if the F6 does that when it's in audio interface mode. Good question. I don't remember the answer to that. Okay, let's move on. Thanks for that, Luis. What else have we got there?
That is all. That
is all. Okay. Well, what else do we need to check before tomorrow? We're using green instead of purple. What does everyone think of the green? You seeing it?
Yeah, I don't like it.
You don't. Emma doesn't like it. There's one down vote so far. What do you prefer?
I think we need to stick in blue because the bass traps are beige.
Oh, okay.
So that, I mean,
Stand
that
by.
carries like an orange undertone. I don't know.
Stand by. Okay. These are little Aperture MC lights. Pretty simple.
Daniel prefers the purple.
Daniel prefers the purple. Purple it is.
Did we even ever tell people that we have a purple bass trap that they never see?
No.
Maybe we should show them. Because that's the cool one.
That is the cool one. Hue 259.
Mom says green for Halloween.
Who does?
Mom.
Oh. Wow. Danny's watching. That's so cool. Oh, let's show you the purple bass trap. It's got, I didn't turn on the overhead. Anyway. Oh,
We're just giving monitor
the monitor's in the way. You can kind of see it back there. It's really just dark. Let me turn this on. Do we have other feedback? You can kind of see it. Anyway, we'll bring it back. This is Emma's laptop in the frame here.
We'll move it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll move that tomorrow. Okay. All right, back to purple it is. Is bringing Eddie Bauer back into style probably the only YouTuber sporting Eddie Bauer 24/7? Okay, there's a story there, and I'm happy to share it. Eddie Bauer does not sponsor me, Every piece of Eddie Bauer clothing, every article of clothing from Eddie Bauer, we have purchased with our own money. The reason why is that I'm extraordinarily skinny and tall. And so the Eddie Bauer makes a size of jacket that fits me. Now, the reason that I'm usually wearing a jacket here, at least in the wintertime, is because it's somebody asked once, I was wearing a hat for one of the reviews, and somebody said, "Hey, why are you dressed like you're going to climb to the top of a mountain?"
Because we live on
And the answer is we basically live at the top of a mountain. We're at 6,000 feet altitude in the Rockies here, and it gets really cold in the winter. We're in the basement right now, so it's a little chilly, and so that's why you'll typically see me sporting a jacket just to stay warm. So the show must go on. So that's what we're doing. Okay.
Vishal was like writing a whole rap in the chat.
Who's writing a rap?
The guy who was like, "Oh, hey, it's Curtis Judd."
Okay, let's see what we got. We encourage Curtis Judd ain't no dud. Curtis Judd is a stud. Curtis Judd, big fan of Spud. Good. I like it so far.
Okay, here's an actual question.
Let's go back to the questions. Any recommendations for budget in-ear monitors for live streaming? Ideally slim profile and transparent. I have one pair of in-ear monitors. These are the Shure, can't remember the entire model number, the 215s. These are the least expensive. They're probably, I think I got them for $79 or so. They work. They're reasonably comfortable, but they don't sound that great. They're okay. They're good enough for kind of rough monitoring, but they're not going to win any awards for audio transparency or anything like that. Of course, Shure makes some higher end in-ear monitors that get pretty good reviews. We were talking to Watson Wu probably a month ago now, and I think he was using some Shures. Weren't they Shures? Yeah, some Shure in-ear monitors, but he was using the ones that cost like, I think $500 or $600. He does. I don't know if Shure sent them to him or if he bought them or what, but he was really happy with those. So those are the ones that I have experience with or own and actually have used. So, but I would take a look at. There are definitely a lot of reviews of the higher end Shure in-ears, and I don't know if others have other input. I think Sennheiser makes a series of them. There are actually a lot of companies out there, but the Shures are the ones that I've been using. And I would say the 215s, if you're on a tight budget, they're okay. They'll get the job done, but they're not amazing in terms of the sound. It does sound pretty colored to me. A question, 32-bit recording in Audacity is different than 32-bit float in recorders? I don't know for sure. 32-bit processing gives the nice thing about 32-bit processing when you're working in a digital audio workstation is that even if you apply some processing to the audio, you're not destructively destroying anything that exceeds 0 dB. So you can recover that stuff. It won't do that I guess here's the answer. In most cases, or will it? No, if you're using an audio interface with I know at least here's an answer. I don't know about Audacity in particular. Here's an answer though in relation to Audition, which I actually have tested. If you are using an audio interface that supports 32-bit float, in my case I was using a MixPre, and brought that into Audacity, and it did capture all of the samples that exceeded 0 dB full scale. So it does retain that, at least in Audition. I don't know about Audacity, whether it does or not. I would think yes, but I didn't specifically test that. Audition did, and Audition also does 32-bit. I'd have to test. It's good. It's a great question. Very good question. Came here late, so maybe I'm missing context. Curtis is pretty heavily compressed. Well, his voice is. Why?
Do we have a compressor on?
Well, let's take a look and see if we've got a compressor on. Let's pull it in one moment. Don't switch yet. Here we go. Okay, we're good to go. Let's take a look at our compressor. We have our threshold set at 10 to 1. And yeah, we're pretty heavily compressed. We could probably drop that threshold down a little bit. How about... All right. Oh, wait. We need to bump it up if we wanted it to be less aggressive. There we go. Anyway, yeah, that's about where we're at. In terms of the attack, we've got 30 microseconds, 520 millisecond release. And then we could go back to the preamp and pull back a little bit. Yeah, it is somewhat compressed. The thing that I'm seeing here, though, is I don't know what you're seeing on your monitor, your meters over on your end, but we're peaking somewhere around what, -9? Is that what you're seeing on the meters there, Emma? So if you look on the meter on the main screen, the program, see the meter there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where is that?
-12.
-12. I'm curious what you guys are seeing on your end there. Just out of curiosity. Let me just take a look at again, back to the compressor. We have it on soft knee, so it's engaging a little bit earlier in kind of a smooth way. We can turn that off. All right, if we do that, whoa, the threshold would have to come down. So that's because of the soft knee that we're engaging it a little bit more. We could drop the ratio a little bit. Maybe just go right around 2 to 1. There we go. That's probably affecting my voice a little bit less. All right, that's good for now. Let's see. Let me just see how that sounds. Put my headphones back on. Yeah, there's still some compression. Would you call it heavy? I don't know. Would you call it heavy, Emma?
No.
No? It's somewhat relative. But we're just sort of, what we're trying to do is optimize the loudness a little bit for the stream. But I'm showing on my meters again about -12, -10 dB. So we're not pushing super hard in terms of the loudness. So we don't need a ton of compression, but there's just a little bit. We're just kind of tickling it now. All right. This is all test tonight, as you can tell by the title of the live stream. All right, anything else going on? Oh, Curtis, what's your best non-Adobe solution for Audition on a Mac? I have actually considered my Audition subscription renews later this month, and I've considered letting it lapse. But the problem I have is that it's a pretty good educational tool. The waveform view is actually really useful. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's not useful. Maybe I should not use it. But the other digital audio workstation with which I have some experience is, well, on my computer I've got Logic, I've got Pro Tools, and I've got DaVinci Resolve / Fairlight. I would think that the trick with Fairlight is I feel like I'd have to switch my editing over to DaVinci Resolve as well. The import-export capabilities of that. I haven't looked into it in super depth, but the moving from Final Cut Pro is where I do my editing, and I really like the editing model in Final Cut Pro for cutting video. What I don't love it for is its audio processing. It's a mess. It tries to use this trackless model, and it uses lanes instead. And for audio, that's just not a great model. Or at least it just doesn't intuitively work for me. Other people do it, lots of editors do it that way. But if you really want to get into a careful mix, you have to get it out of Final Cut and move it over into a proper digital audio workstation. Logic is one that kind of makes the most sense for that. But I don't know why I'm not super enthused about Logic for film. Hardly anyone uses it for that, and I guess I should be careful. There are not a ton of people using Logic to do serious film mixing. From what I can tell, there are some out there, of course, but I think the majority of people are, like in the industry. Certainly, it's Pro Tools still very much. I think in the indie world, it's becoming more DaVinci Resolve. And there's still very much a lot of Adobe editors. But I think if I was going to choose one, I don't know. I haven't committed yet. I've got all of those on my computer. I probably need to go back into DaVinci Resolve and do spend another month editing all my videos in Resolve and mixing in Fairlight just to see how that workflow works. But there are just some things I know I'm going to miss from Final Cut. I really like the magnetic timeline in Final Cut, but it's just a nightmare in terms of sound and mixing. So those are my thoughts. No love for PreSonus Studio One. I don't have anything against it. It's just I don't know what the import-export or the round-trip process looks like on that. It's been your exclusive DAW for about 8 years. Absolutely love the interface and navigation. I just haven't taken a close look at it. I don't know that it has a lot of foothold in the film world, but I could be wrong. I haven't seen a lot of it. And that's the thing about digital audio workstations is that we were actually talking about this earlier today, because my wife Danny is starting to look into, she took a course today and it was a great course. I sat in part of it, kind of recording for string artists, string players, violinists, cellists, so on and so forth. And she really enjoyed it. And so she was asking about digital audio workstations, and Emma and I were talking with her about that. And I think what we kind of concluded was there are a couple of factors. Number one, what you started with is a big factor, it seems. Number two, which industry you're in. So if you're more in music and you're working with recorded instruments as opposed to electronic instruments, a lot of people gravitate towards Pro Tools, a lot of people Studio One, a lot of people, there's a fair contingent of Reaper users out there, Logic, of course. And then it seems like electronic music, I've known a lot that have used Logic in the past, and then Ableton Live seems very popular on that front as well.
FL is popular with the young kiddos.
Oh yeah, FL Studio, so Fruity Loops, or what has evolved into FL Studio. Popular with the kiddos.
It is. You go on YouTube and there's like 20 young producers, like my age.
Right.
Putting tutorials up and they're in FL.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So so one factor was kind of what you use, which industry you're in. In film, and definitely in the higher end productions, you're still seeing mostly Pro Tools for film. And I think part of that is because you're seeing a lot of editing in Avid, Media Composer. So anyway, then Lloyd brings up a good point. Nuendo and Cubase have a strong following in music for video. Yep, some more good points. So yeah, I don't have anything against Studio One. Maybe I should look at it. I'm sure there's a trial, right? Yeah, it's worth looking at. So all interesting thoughts. I don't know what to do about Audition. It's one of those things where I've used it for so long that it's secondhand and it's easy, but I don't know what would be best for my audience, like for people that I'm trying to teach. I don't know. Good question. What I've been considering is a Rodecaster Pro or Motu M5 or 4, to do both live streaming, podcasting, as well as recording voiceovers for YouTube videos. Any recommendations on those two? Let's see. For live streaming, the Rodecaster Pro can work. You'll use it in audio as an audio interface, basically. If you're using an encoder on your computer, then you should have the capability to offset it, the sync, to get it back in sync with your camera. So that should be fine. Or the Motu M4. I think the Rodecaster has more capabilities in terms of processing plugins, basically effects that you can apply built in. The Motu M4, if you were going to do that, you would have to kind of do something more sophisticated in terms of software on your computer to route through all those different plugins that you wanted to process. So there's some things you'd have to take into account there. So in terms of just simplicity, the Rodecaster Pro would probably be my first choice there. Thank you for the super. Is that a super chat from Charles? Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Wow. Just for the setup video. Appreciate that. All right. What else? What is the main thing you would miss if you left Audition? I think it'd be that waveform view. And then channel manipulation is pretty simple as well. I'm sure that could be done elsewhere. But one of the funky things about Final Cut is that if you drop in a mono dialogue track, it seems to kind of muddle up. It seemed to have trouble managing that and changing it to dual mono. I've had problems with that in the past, and I haven't checked it recently. But that's one of the things with my general workflow for just managing a very simple YouTube video where I have intro music, dialogue, outro music, which is not even hardly a mix at all, is that I would actually process a lot of the dialogue audio first. I'd bring it into Audition. If I had extraneous tracks on there, I'd go into the waveform view, strip all the other tracks out that I don't need, drop in, or actually I'd do a round trip over to iZotope and do most of the cleanup there if I needed to do any cleanup, and then loudness normalization, bring it back, convert it to dual mono, and export it. Then I could drop that into Final Cut and it wouldn't have any problems with dual mono. So, and that's the funny thing is, frankly, I'm just using Audition for stupid little things like the channel manipulation, and making it, mono, and then putting it back to dual mono once I'm done processing it. I have done some mixes in Audition as well. So the multi-track view the multi-track mode is it's decent. It's very much, I think, a better fit for Adobe editors, but again, it's the one I learned on. So that's the problem I have, is that if you've got a schedule where you're trying to produce every week, taking the time to learn a new application is kind of time consuming. So you're right. I think, Lloyd, I'm going to cancel my Audition subscription and see what happens. Make myself do it. Thank you. Remind me to do that as soon as we're done here. Okay. Any thoughts on Shure Beta 58 versus SM58 for podcasting? Also, any non-lavalier microphone recommendations for interviewees that have trouble staying on mic? For example, kids. Oh, good question, Chad. I have not worked with a Beta 58. Obviously, it's been a popular one for live vocals for a long time. SM58 is a legend, for better or worse. I've got one, and we've used it, and it sounds good on some people's voice. It's a pretty colored mic, I'd say. It's got a really funky kind of frequency response, but it's a sound most of us are used to hearing. So it's not a horrible thing. Well, let's look up let's just do a little look in here. Let's go to Shure's website. Go ahead and pull this up, E. Let's put this on the screen. Let's look at our products and microphones. Oh, look at that. SM58. This is the one that I don't want to buy it. I just want to see the specs. Excuse me. View in the tech portal. There we go. That should be something useful. Oh no, I don't have an account. I don't want to do that. How about just specifications? I don't really care about the reviews. Here we go. User guide. There we go. Here we go. Here is a look at, and it's really small. Let's see if we can blow that up. There's the frequency response for the SM58. This is brutal on my voice right here. Takes all the sibilance and emphasizes it beautifully, and then it drops off after 10K pretty quickly. Quite a bit of proximity effect as well, so when you're up close, you're going to get that. And actually, some people use that intentionally for effect. Let's go now take a look at the the Beta 58, which is going to be right here. Go down to support. There's the PAG-NAG calculator. I'm not sure what that is. Concept that can use to determine if the sound reinforcement system can produce enough gain to provide an optimal listening experience before causing feedback. Interesting. Where did we find the spec sheet before? Surely they have to have a frequency response chart here somewhere. Specifications are not shown there. How about a user guide? Well, Does it find something? Guide. Manual. Am I missing it? I really don't want to go to the tech portal. It probably has it there. No, it's not going to have anything there. I'm sorry, I don't see it here at a glance. Let's maybe just do a Shure Beta 58 frequency response chart. I bet you we can find that. Here we go. It's actually technically not too different, but you have to keep in mind that these frequency response charts are always a little bit. This is a Beta 58, and this is evidently the SM 58. They're averaged, they're highly averaged, and so this one looks a little different. See, 2, 3, 4, 5K, so it's going to be a little bit maybe more mellow here in the sibilance range. It got a little bit of a dip. 1,000, this will be 2K, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is just right on that sibilance right there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Anyway, yeah, this one may be a little bit easier on some voices. It depends on if if you've got a dark voice, having that boost there can be helpful to really kind of add some sparkle. But those are some of my thoughts. That was a long way to get to your answer. I think it could be a fine option. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Chad. There was another question about lavalier microphones for interviewees that have trouble staying on mic. If you're just doing podcasts, I would look at headset mics. Rode makes one. I did a review of a really inexpensive one some time ago with a little bit of EQ. It can sound pretty decent. It was made by JK Mike J. If you just do a search for Curtis Judd headset microphone on YouTube, you'll find that review. So I would look at a headset, actually, to be honest. If you've got someone that's moving around a whole lot, that could be the easiest way to manage that. A lavalier, you can still get off axis on a lavalier if they turn their head or moving around. At least it will follow their body if they're getting up and running around. But if they turn their head, you're still going to have some fall off. With a headset, it follows them all the way. Or if you really want to make the point, tape the lavalier microphone to their forehead right here. Actually, very good frequency response up here, typically. It's a pretty good place for it. Nicholas says, I'm trying to route audio from Jamulus to Logic to Zoom. I'm currently using Loopback to do this. However, I now want to add the audio from the Zoom users to the mix. Whew. I have no experience with Jamulus. I don't know is Jamulus a Windows or a Mac thing? I don't know. But I would use Audio Hijack is probably the thing that I would look at. Audio Hijack, I think you can get the audio back out of Zoom and bring it into the mix. You're gonna have to be careful about ending up with feedback and, multiple instances of the same thing at different times in the latency world. But that's the first thing I'd look at is Audio Hijack. If you're on a Mac. If you're on a PC, I'm afraid I just don't have recommendations there. But if someone in the chat does, definitely help out our friend Nicholas for us. All right. What time did we start?
8.
Oh, it's been an hour. Okay, no video. When you are engaging with the chat, it is just a setup video. Haha. Yeah, I guess so. Hi from Down Under. How often do you use SMPTE timecode in your video work? When I'm working on narrative films, we typically will. When I'm doing corporate or my YouTube videos, typically do not. It's just not necessary because, again, for my YouTube videos, the workflow is pretty straightforward. I have a video that covered the workflow, but we basically do that all in one take. And so there's not a lot of need. I just clap at the start, and that just gives us our sync point, and we're good from there. Corporate videos, a lot of times we have it's actually kind of similar. We will have an interview or a kind of monologue talking head thing, and that'll generally be one take as well. So there's not a lot of, where SMPTE timecode becomes really helpful is that when you come home with a lot of short takes. That's narrative film work generally. So, and actually also when you have multiple cameras, that's when it becomes more helpful. And, a lot of time for the YouTube and the corporate stuff, I'm not doing that. So in those cases, I don't. If we are doing a narrative style piece for corporate, which we sometimes do, then I'll bring in time code as well. Great question.
Last one. This
is the last one. Do you have any New Year's goals? What are you most excited about in 2021? Doesn't have to be audio based. Yes, I do have some goals specifically for my work online. I am going to do fewer gear reviews and more tutorials. So my goal is to do 2 gear reviews a month and 2 tutorials a month. That's my big goal. I'm kind of burning out a little bit on gear reviews, and I feel like it's encouraging some of the wrong behavior as well, and I don't want to be part of the problem. There's new gear coming out all the time, and you could create 365 new gear reviews a year. And there's value to that. I get it. If people are trying to figure out how to spend their money, that makes sense. But on the other hand, I feel like people that have followed the channel for a while start to get this unconscious message that you need to constantly be upgrading your gear, and I don't think that's true. I think a lot of us get, most of us are gearheads, and we get trapped in that. And I don't want to be part of that problem. I want to be part of the solution. So I think that a good way to do that is to focus a little bit more on tutorials, learning instead of gear acquisition. So that's my main goal for 2021. Does that seem like a fair goal? Yeah. What am I most excited about in 2021? I am thinking of putting together probably just at least a podcast episode talking about this phenomenon of live streaming. I've actually been live streaming since 2015. But for me, it was really initially just about providing a way to answer the questions of those who have signed up for my online courses, period. That was the only goal. Initially we called them weekly help sessions, and then we changed it to sound for video sessions. What ended up happening is there was a period of time as my school was kind of ramping up where I wasn't selling a whole lot of courses. People were pretty happy. They had what they needed. And so there just weren't a lot of questions. And so the sessions were kind of boring. It was I just had a webcam and a mic, and if anyone submitted questions ahead of time, we answered those. But what I ended up doing is I switched to a format where instead what I would do is essentially just create a small tutorial, a sound for video related tutorial of some sort. We did that for a number of years. And then it was in 2019 when we switched back to this format, I started getting a lot more questions. As course sales started picking up, people started having more questions. So we switched back, and then when the pandemic hit, everyone wanted to live stream. And so, in fact, I bought the first ATEM Mini before the pandemic hit. And the reason I bought it was that in my corporate video work at my day job, Navitaire, we were going to start a series that the security team wanted to do. It was just an internal series of videos, kind of explainer videos. And the guy that wanted to do it, or that was going to do it, wanted to have this kind of look that's very popular on Twitch, which is the floating head in the picture-in-picture, but without the actual frame. So you key them out and put them as a little floating. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, it's a big thing on TikTok.
It's big on TikTok as well. But that look. So he would have a set of slides on screen, and his little head would be floating down here in the bottom. He said, "We got to get an ATEM Mini," and I was like, "Okay, whatever." So I bought an ATEM Mini, and I immediately fell in love with it because what was so nice about it was the other capture cards I had used in the past just were a nightmare. I had some Blackmagic, the Blackmagic Mini recorder, and it would take like 15 minutes to get it to recognize the HDMI signal out of my camera and working, up and running. And then the software half the time felt like it wasn't working. And then so I bought an AJA capture card, and then I bought another one that had an SDI input. And so we were using those for a while, and those were a little bit better, but they still were a little flaky. And then when I got the ATEM Mini, it just worked. You just plug your camera in and it worked. And it was beautiful. And so kind of fell in love with it from there. And so that's when I started getting a little bit more into live streaming. So I don't want to keep beating on this topic, but to me, I got a lot more enthused about live streaming, and I'm thinking of putting together a podcast episode talking about this phenomenon of live streaming. And kind of, for me, there's some benefits and some costs. I think the reality is once we're done here tonight, nobody cares about this live stream. And that's the downside of live streams, is that they're kind of inefficient ways to share information. They're kind of fun and cool to hang out, but they're not a great way to share a ton of information. And they're a good way to connect, with an audience, and to kind of engage with the audience a little bit more. So they're kind of a mixed blessing. So that's why I continue to do the produced videos, and I've gotten into live streaming as well. And I had to, and I found very important that I had to put them on different channels, because a lot of people that appreciate the produced videos are looking for something concise, straight to the point. In 10 minutes or less, tell me all the information I need to know. Whereas people that are willing to sit through a live stream have a little bit more, they're willing to spend more time because they're very, very invested in the particular topic or whatever. So it's a different kind of thing. And it's the same thing, I think, with podcasts, especially if you're talking about a podcast that's an hour long or longer. Your audience has to be super committed to the topic and or the personality or whatever it is. And so that's kind of... those are some of my initial thoughts, but we'll probably have a podcast episode on that in particular. All right, we need to wrap it up for tonight. Thanks to Emma for doing our technical direction for tonight. I think we've got everything working decently, so we'll be back in business tomorrow. We'll see you at noon U.S. Mountain Time if you're interested in joining us live, or if not, you can always catch it later. Take care, everybody. Talk to you later.